Welcome to part 2 of my 3-part demo. In this video we shall be using Photoshop Elements to prepare the graphics which we will use as decoration for our Disney Stamp Album page layout. I have chosen the Grenada Christmas 1982 issue, which depicts scenes from the Robin Hood animated film. I chose this one mainly because it's one of my favourite Disney animations, and the issue has the typical set of 9 stamps, but only one souvenir sheet, which will make this video a bit shorter. I have found a few very nice pictures on the net for this exercise, so let's open the first one. And it's this one. This picture was so nice I just couldn't resist using it for this demonstration. So the first thing I always do after downloading a graphic is I check the resolution. So in the image menu, select resize image size. Now most JPEGs that you download off the net will have a resolution of 72 pixels per inch. This is ideal for displaying on the screen, but is absolutely useless for us because we want to print it. So we'll change this to 300. And now for the actual print size, make sure constrained proportions is checked, and then change the size to match our printable area on our album page, which in my case was at 290. We'll zoom out a little bit, and we'll get rid of some of this white space. We don't need it. So select the crop tool in the toolbox, and with the left mouse button drag out a rectangle around our graphic. Just adjust it slightly. Right click and crop. Now I want to face him the other way because of my layout plans, so I'm going to image, rotate and flip horizontal. Now there's a lot of colour in this image, a lot of contrast. We want to reduce that because we don't want it to clash with our stamps, because it's the stamps that we are displaying after all. So in the Enhance menu, adjust colour and select adjust hue saturation. So we're simply going to lighten the whole image quite a bit. So grab hold of the lightness slider and move it over to the right. Now I cannot give you a hard and fast rule about how far to go with this because it depends on the individual graphic. You just have to experiment a little bit. I think that should be about right. And we can also reduce the colour saturation a little bit because there's still quite a lot of colour in it, but not so much with that one. And when you're happy, click on OK. And that's this graphic already finished. That wasn't too bad, was it? We just need to save it. And we'll save as, because we don't want to overwrite the original file in case we want to use it again. And I simply keep the same file name and change the file format. Now I always use TIFF. TIFF is a very old graphic file format. It's become somewhat of an industry standard and it's used by many professionals. I like it because you can compress the files and you have no loss of detail, and it supports transparent backgrounds, which we shall need later. Not for this particular graphic, but for the small graphics, but I won't save that because I've already done it. So we'll get rid of that. We've finished with that one, and we'll open the next one. This is an actual Disney image, and we do the same thing again. We check the resolution. Image, resize, image size. Unfortunately, this one is already at 300 pixels per inch, so we don't need to change that. We just need to change the height. Same as last time. Okay. Now, a good indication, or a very good indication of whether a graphic will print well, is to zoom in to 100%. The zoom factor is shown in the bottom left here, and we're now at 100%. If the graphic still looks okay, then it will also print okay. We'll zoom out again. And we're going to crop, because it's far too wide for our album page, obviously, so we're going to take the center out. So select the crop tool in the toolbox, and adjust it until it's wide enough to fill our album page within our borders. Then right click and crop. Now this one's quite colourful and a lot of contrast, so we will lighten this one too. So enhance, adjust colour, adjust hue saturation, and move the lightness slider up. There. Reduce a bit of saturation. Click on OK. And that's that one finished. There's no need to be too accurate with the width of the graphic, because we can tweak that a little bit in CorelDRAW anyway. So save this one as a TIFF as well. And I won't do that again because I've already done it. So we finished with that, we can get rid of it. Now all we have left to do is the small graphics that we're going to place in our circles. We shall get slightly different treatment. So we'll start off with this one that I've selected, and it's a picture of Prince John. What a great character he was in the film. Brilliantly voiced by Peter Ustinov. It was an inspired choice by Disney, I think. And in fact, I think him and Terry Thomas, who provided the voice for the snake Sir Hiss, I think between the two of them they stole the show, really. Right, the first thing we do again is check the resolution. And for these small graphics, I prefer to change that to 600 pixels per inch. This will provide us with a nice smooth outline, and we'll change the size to fit our circle, around about 25. No need to be too accurate with that as well, because we can tweak that in CorelDRAW. Zoom out a bit. Now we want to change the background to be transparent. Now the easiest way of doing that, because we have to select the graphic, select the Magic Wand tool and click in the white background. This should, if you're lucky, select the whole graphic. Just go around and check that it has. Yep. But what it has also done is select our white border, which we don't want. So go into the select menu and pick inverse. Now we just have our graphic selected. Go into the edit menu and cut. You can copy if you want. It's the same result, but with cutting I prefer to use cutting because it gives you a visual indication that something has actually happened. And there we go. Now that we have it in memory, we can select new, image from clipboard, and there we have our graphic with a transparent background. That's what this checkered pattern in the background means. It means that it's transparent. Now we haven't quite finished with this. We need to go around the edges of the figure, get rid of all the crap that's around there. So zoom in until you can see individual pixels. About there. And select the eraser tool and make it reasonably small. I suggest something like 9, and just go around erasing all the lighter coloured pixels around the figure. There's no need to be terribly accurate doing this, because we are zoomed in quite far. But do remember to take your finger off the left mouse button while you're doing it now and again. Otherwise, if you do make a mistake and you want to undo, if you haven't taken your finger off the mouse button for a while, it will undo quite a lot of your work. And just imagine if you went around the whole thing, just finished, and at the last little bit you make a mistake and you haven't taken your finger off once, then when you undo, you would undo all your work, which would be a bit frustrating. So simply just take off all the crap. And because of this 600 pixels per inch resolution, we will get a nice smooth outline when we finish that. But I'm not going to do all of that, I've already done that. When you're finished, save the file. Save as. And I usually use the same file name that the original file had and simply change it to a TIFF. And one thing to watch out for is to make sure that Save Transparency is ticked. If you don't do that, your file will not have a transparent background. So I won't do that since I've already done it. Cancel that. Now we'll go on to the second one. Remember, when you're closing this file, if you have cut it, you do not want to save it, otherwise you'll overwrite your original file. So now we'll open the last one, and I have chosen the Sheriff of Nottingham. So with this we do exactly the same as before. We check the resolution, image, resize, image size. Change that to 600 and about 25 millimeters. Remember, no need to be too accurate. We will change that in CorelDRAW anyway. And we want to make the background transparent again. Magic Wand tool in the toolbox, click in the white space, and you will see that this time it hasn't worked. It's only selected this little part of the graphic. Now that is because there's not enough white space between the graphic and the edge of the border. So we'll undo that, and we shall add more space. And to do that, we go back into the image menu, resize, and this time select canvas size. And we will simply make it a bit bigger in the width and the height. Now this time when we click on the magic wand, it should select the whole graphic, which it has. And then we go around and check that it hasn't penetrated the actual graphic, which it can do sometimes if the outline is a bit indistinct. Right, there's a couple of areas that we still need to include in our selection, like between the sheriff's legs there, for instance. To do that, with the magic wand tool selected, click on Add to Selection and simply click on that white space, and that will do that. And there's a couple of bits there in the crossbow. So we'll zoom in a bit. Magic wand again, and just click in those white spaces. And just for completeness, we'll do that as well. That's fine. Now remember, we've got the outside border selected as well. We don't want that, so go into the select menu, inverse, and we just have our graphic selected. Edit, cut, file, new, image from clipboard, and there we go. That was easy, wasn't it? But not quite finished. We have to go around and clean up the edges like we did with the other one. But you know how to do that now, don't you? Right, when you're finished, save as, TIFF, and make sure Save Transparency is checked. And that just about concludes part 2 of this demonstration. Just one tip when you're downloading files, graphic files, is I usually use Google as my search engines, as most people do, I suppose. And when you click on Google Images and you hover over the thumbnails, there's no point in downloading the thumbnails themselves, they're far too small. But when you hover over the thumbnails, there's a little link that says More Sizes. Click on that, and if you're lucky, you can find some quite high resolution files which will help you in your search for the right picture. Okay, this leaves me to say thank you for watching, and see you in the last part, part 3. Cheerio for now.